Okay, so I want you to feel into the part of you that wants to see what's here. It may sound kind of amorphous, but there's there's a desire inside of you to be present with everything that's here. Now, as you sort of tune into that, there's all these other parts that are often the louder parts of us. They're not bigger, but they're louder that don't want to be present. There's parts of us that don't like some part of the present, or there's parts of us that think it's very important for us to think about the future or the past. And we just have to be present with those parts as we allow that part of us that wants to be present to come forward. So there's this desire to be present, and it's a weird thing to talk about because desire is a thing that arises in the body mind. And in many ways, desire is usually moving us away from the present. When we identify with the desire, it's saying we want to change the way the world is. So this is a very unique kind of desire. It's the desire, it's a desire to surrender. It's a desire to stop struggling. It's a desire to take the world as it is, to let it be. This is a desire that often arises very strongly for people who've gone a fair number of years on the spiritual path, or for those of us that have struggled for a while with it, with the same kind of issues. If you've struggled at a high intensity level, you'll really start to get attuned into this part that just wants to give up. And our culture often characterizes giving up as a failure, as a bad thing. This is a very important desire. It's a very important impulse in the human system. And you can phrase it as give up, you can phrase it as surrender, or you can just phrase it as wants to be present, wants to be awake. These are all the same thing, but they're they might split into different desires at first that you will notice in different ways. At the deepest level, they are the same desire. But, okay, so what you want to do is notice what's getting in the way, because that's for most of us, that's what you'll encounter first. is other desires, other things that are not this impulse. Large parts of us are not ready to surrender, and we just want to notice those things. The Dylan Thomas poem to his dying father, rage, rage against the dying of the light, comes to mind. There's parts of us that see any surrender as a death, as that dangerous. And so we don't want to pretend they're not there. But the beautiful thing is the desire to be present actually wants to be present with these other motivations, these desires not to surrender, not to be present. So if you can fully be with your resistance to being present, you might be able to tune in to the nearby satisfaction of the desire to be present. And I know that sounds confusing, but I'm just talking about ways of getting to this deep impulse to surrender into the present moment. And very often, if not almost always, the way to that is through desires to not be present. And those desires look like they look different than they don't sound they're not going to say I don't want to be present. They're going to say I need to survive, or they're going to say, you know, this needs to be resolved, or they're going to say this is too uncomfortable. They're not going to say I don't want to be present. But because lots of parts of us feel like being present is a kind of death, they have a lot of energy in them. Now, for this reason, the actual realization of presence is an affirmation of life because it will release the energy that's in these fears. Now, presence is an interesting experience. When it comes online, it has a way of equalizing everything. So you get into equanimity where there's no longer parts of your experience that are vastly more important than the others. And this is a kind of calming experience. But I want to talk about the flip side of that. So that operates at the level of mind body. All right. This is how we get into a complete experience where we're hearing everything, seeing everything, and feeling everything, both inside and out, all at once equally. But there's the flip side of that, which is when we stop using our mind to categorize and constrain our experience, now energy can flow through our experience in its most free form, which is in some ways the opposite of everything being flat or equal. So we create this equality, this calmness, which allows for the arising and flowering of energy to move through us. And energy will not be equal. It will sometimes be more densely or situated, sometimes be flowing more strongly in certain parts in different ways. Now, at a certain point, you'll go through energy all the way to another level of unity where the energy spreads through all things equally. But first, that energy has to move. We have parts of ourself that are containers of energy. And as energy starts to move, it might fill up these containers. And then they become very hot. They become very excited. And so the equanimity, the presence we have might get sucked into distraction. So we might feel a strong emotion or have a series of thoughts or a memory and it will pull us out of presence and into the emotion or idea. Now, again, the desire to be present is okay with this as long as you can wake up to what's happening. Just flow with the energy. You flow right through it and all the way back into presence, into equanimity, into surrender. Just surrender to this intense energy expression. And remember, we just keep coming back to that desire to surrender, that desire to give up, that desire to stop struggling, that desire to be present, whichever one of those works for you. You know, one of those might be there's just a part of you that's very tired. It's exhausted with struggling. It's just tired of trying to heal, tired of trying to be more spiritual, tired of trying to be happy, tired of trying to be good. If you follow that desire backwards, you'll get to the desire to be present. What if everything is perfect as it is right now? One thing that happens when you start to be present is before you get to an experience of no self, you get to an experience of self where you sort of realize the self is a kind of game and you're playing a role. And so you can tune into that now. Like, what role am I playing? What character am I playing in this moment? And we just surrender to that fact that we're playing this character. We're not trying to get rid of the character or see through the character. We're just like, oh yeah, I am playing this meditation teacher right now, or whatever it is, this meditator, or this person who's struggling with this, or this person who thinks and believes that. But it's not a sentence, it's an actual whole character. Like it feels a certain way to be this character right now. It feels in all the parts of the body and in the mind and in the emotions. There's nothing wrong with this character. It's perfect as it is in this game of life. It's just a certain way into presence. As we surrender to the game we're playing. Rather than wishing it were some other game or the rules were different, we just surrender to the game we are playing, but not the game we think we're playing, the game that's actually happening right now. And of course, that changes moment by moment. Somewhere in the mix of all of this is love. You might just find yourself stumbling into it. But if you haven't stumbled into it, you can actually look for it. There's also a desire in you to just love yourself the way you are. So when we drop into presence, love is nearby. Depending on how you drop into presence, it may be the same thing. But there's just a softness and a warmness and a kind of flowiness. You see, if your deepest desire has always been to surrender, if your deepest desire has been to present, and all your life you've been struggling, and you find this exhaustion from struggle that just wants to give up the struggle, and you taste that even for a second, just think how much love you might feel at that point. Oh, you're letting me stop the struggle? Oh, Okay, so the desire to be present is different from present. That is, the desire to have presence is different from being having presence. The interesting thing is, this desire is so fundamental that if you can tune into it and be present with that desire, then you'll start to fall into presence itself. Okay, so if you haven't already, just want to let go of any effort and just allow your life to proceed moment by moment without any interference. And so doing nothing and just sitting here. It doesn't matter what level of presence you found or what desires you contacted. You start doing nothing, whatever the original impulse, the true, sincere impulse of your sit, it will start to move in that direction. Maybe slowly, maybe you won't even be able to notice it, but it will. When you get out of the way and you've set it as a sincere impulse in motion. Okay, so and when you finish, especially if you got pretty deep, you just want to make sure you take the time to move your body. Um, you want to look into your space and really see where you are. Don't just hop up and go right into the world of mind. Be present and let your body know you are an adult human being of whatever type and age, and you are here right now. You live in this space right now. You can see behind you, you can see above you, you can see below you, and this will give a sense of safety to the body. Any part that might have felt a little unmoored or uncared for because you went into a deeper place. And for today.